Okay, hello everyone, and thanks for watching today. Rebecca asked us a question about chakras. Do you want to share what that question was, Rebecca?
So for the last few months, I've been listening to a sound chakra opening vibration meditation on YouTube, and it's really effective. I find it really useful in opening my mind, like into a meditative state. It's a really good one, and so I've been listening to it for a few months and not having any issues with it. But over the last week, I've noticed when it gets to the throat chakra, my throat closing or tickling, and yeah, it was just to ask the experts really in the field what they think that is about, really.
Okie doke. And Joe, go on. I noticed you posted a comment in the group about that. Do you want to just share your reply?
So basically, the fact that you've never had this experience before just means that the meditation itself hasn't found this particular imbalance or part of your throat chakra that is out of alignment. And that's all that is. That it's just, it could be a reaction to a treatment, it could be a reaction to a meditation that you do. Your chakras are not static, they're moving all the time. Your energy centers have energy flowing through them 24/7. So the fact that it's only just happened doesn't really matter. What you need to be looking at is it's kind of like an alert. So the fact that you felt that tickly feeling in your throat chakra is alerting you to the fact that it's not working as optimally as it could be doing or should be doing. And as I said to you in my reply, normally that is because we are not expressing ourselves, because the throat chakra is all about self-expression, communication. So 9 times out of 10, if I'm seeing a client that has a problem in the throat chakra, it's because they've not expressed themselves. So they've not said verbally how they're feeling, what they're thinking, or they feel like they can't say it. Happens a lot in work situations, a lot of work related stresses, because people are stuck in jobs with line managers and bosses that they feel they can't speak to, or they do speak to when they get shot down, or they don't get listened to. So that's the other thing I said in my reply, is it may be that you have expressed yourself, but you feel like nobody's listening to you, nobody understands you, nobody gets it. Or it can be the opposite end of the spectrum, and you could have said a little bit too much. So I see this a lot when somebody's just had a row or an argument. It throws the throat chakra out of balance because they've said a little bit too much and maybe then regretted it. So it's all about communication. So you really need to look at all the areas in your life where you're not expressing yourself, or you feel you're not being heard, or you've expressed yourself a little bit too much. And it might be a combination of all of those things. So did you do that? Did you reflect on?
I did, yeah. And I thought about what's come up this week, and it's it does make a lot of sense. Yeah, it does. It's to do, yeah, it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's amazing. For those who don't know about the chakras, or you might know a little bit about chakras, the chakras are like energy centers in your body. And a lot of healers, holistic healers, work with the chakras, because when your different chakras are out of balance, it can cause different things to occur sort of in your life. So like the throat chakra is a great example, which we shared, that's about communication. But we also have other chakras. So like you've got the third eye chakra and the crown chakra. So the higher chakras are more about your sort of connection, your vision. So your crown chakra is more about your higher connection. Then your third eye is quite often it's seeing what's you can't see, you know what I mean? That's more, it's known with psychic, but it's it's connected with your psychic awareness, but it's also that awareness of what's going on around you that you can't see, and that's all sort of comes into this chakra. I'm sure Joe will be able to expand on these, as I'm going forward. I'm just giving you a basic rundown. Then, of course, your throat is communication. your heart, it's all about your love, and how you're feeling and your love things, and that can be out of balance. You might not necessarily, love someone too much. You might be feeling a little bit hateful towards somebody. You might be feeling a little bit unloved if it's out of balance. It's not necessarily to say that that is a situation, but that could be how you're feeling. And if your chakras are out of balance, it can sort of knock your perception a little bit, and you can behave a little bit differently than you normally would. You've got your solar plexus, and that's all about your emotions. So if your solar plexus is out of balance, you might be feeling like very overwhelmed. You might be more tearful than normal. It's different experiences relating to your emotions that might be a little bit out of whack. Or it could be that there's something that's impacting on your emotions and causing you a lot of anxiety and stress that you're not necessarily aware of. And then as you go down, you've got your sacral chakra, and that's a lot to do with that's where your sort of sexual energy comes in as well. And the sort of creation of new ideas can come from the sacral. You've got your base chakra at the bottom, and that really is essentially the core of who you are. So if you're feeling a little bit lost and sort of questioning, who am I, what am I doing, you're feeling a little bit ungrounded in where you are and what you're doing, that can be your base chakra. So that's just a very quick rundown, and I'm sure Jo will sort of explain some of those in more detail as well, and her experiences with those. And obviously when you work with an energy healer, quite often it's your chakras that are brought into balance, and where the healing quite often can be targeted. So, Jo, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's important just to strip it back to basics. So your chakras, as Mel said, are energy centers. Everybody has energy. We wouldn't exist if we didn't. We're made of energy. And the chakras are actually energy points where the energy comes in and comes out. And the easiest way to explain your energy system is to liken it to any household appliance in your house. So right now, Mel is on her desktop, am I right?
It's a laptop attached to the screen, yeah.
Okay. So for that laptop to work, it has to be plugged into an electrical source. So it's plugged in via a cable into the socket. The switch is switched on, and that enables the electricity to come from the national grid down the cables into the socket and up the cable and into the laptop. So if I was to come along to Mel's house and turn that plug socket off or pull the cable out, what would happen?
Mm-hmm.
Laptop would go off. We wouldn't have a Zoom call. And that's exactly how our bodies work. We need to take energy in all of the time, and we normally get that through food and water and sunlight, but we also get it from this energy that is all around us. And it comes into our energy points, which are our plug sockets. So each of those chakras that Mel has described are our 7 main chakra points in the body, and those are our plug sockets. You actually have hundreds of mini chakras all around your body. And if you've ever had acupuncture, when your acupuncturist just put a needle in a point in your body, that's a mini energy center. And that's how acupuncture works. We're moving the energy with a needle. I can do the same with reflexology, just using my thumb and my finger pressing on a particular point on your foot or your hand or even your ear, and that will move the energy in that point. And that point, obviously, in reflexology refers to a different point of your body. But your energetic centers, so your chakras, literally allow that fuel source, that energy to come from source into your body, and then it's distributed where it needs to go, and any excess comes back out. So those 7 major ones are pretty important to us, and they are linked physically to our bodies as well as our energy system. So let's just expand a little bit on what Mel has already told us. So I'm going to work from the root upwards. So it's either called the root or the base chakra. And it's the first chakra, and it's located at the base of your spine, where your tailbone would have been in years gone by. So it's the lowest chakra, it's the most dense, it's the lowest vibrating chakra. So this is all about frequency and vibrations and energy. It is, as Mel said, it's linked to security, stability, survival. It's where we do our grounding from, it's where we connect to the earth. and it vibrates the colour red. So if any of you have seen a chakra chart, you will know the colours. And it just basically means that that's the colour or the frequency that that particular chakra vibrates to, or should do if you're happy and healthy. When we're out of balance, they're not so brightly coloured. If you looked and did aura viewing and chakra viewing, it would look very dull and would have very little colour. But the important thing that I want you to realise is to start recognising when your energy is off. And that's exactly what Rebecca did this morning when she posted that question. She's done a meditation and then felt something in that particular energy centre, but didn't know how to interpret what it is. And there's a really simple way to think about what might be out of balance. So if we look at the root or the base chakra, if we're not in balance, we can feel angry. We can feel almost a point where we want to be violent. We want to punch a hole in the wall. We might have fears about survival. So we might have a fear of losing something or losing somebody or losing our job, losing our house, just not being able to survive. And this is why a lot of people's root chakras have been out of balance for the last 18 months, because of what the world has gone through. So the world itself has a problem with the root chakra just because of those situations. And physically, that can cause problems with anything that is lower limb. So if you think about the chakras as the actual word itself translates to vortex or wheel of light. So they are spinning all the time. But to visualize them, if you imagine a funnel, so your crown is a funnel upwards towards the heavens and your root is a funnel downwards towards the earth. All of the ones in between you have from at the front and the back. So they would be facing outwards from the front and facing outwards from the back. So if you imagine that funnel going down to the earth, literally any symptom or side effect that you get that affects anything from the bottom of your spine downwards, so each leg will have a physical symptom. So if you've got a problem with your feet or your ankles or your knees or your thighs, lower back, sciatic nerve, that is all related to a root chakra that is out of balance. So it's very easy to pinpoint what energy needs to be worked out. Okay. If we move up to the second one, that is your sacral chakra. And that for most people is located 2 finger widths below your belly button. So it's your lower abdomen. Okay. And that is, as Mel said, it's linked to our sexual organs. So every chakra is linked to an organ or a gland in the body and body parts. So it's very much linked to our sexuality. It's also linked to our emotions, friendships, and creativity. So if any of those things are off, you kind of know that you need to be working with your sacral chakra. It very much represents our connection to others, which is why it's linked to friendship. And it also vibrates the colour orange. So it's where we get this vibrant get up and go energy. So if you're not feeling very vibrant, or you're feeling fatigued, or you just can't be bothered, then you need to look at your sacral chakra, because chances are that's out of balance. So if it is out of balance, you might experience issues around sexuality or just not having an interest, so low libido. You might have problems with jealousy and envy. You might be very possessive, and physically you would have problems with urine infections, bladder problems, kidneys, and lower back pain, the particular one for the sacral chakra. And then if we move up to the solar plexus, so this is located at the bottom of the breastbone, so upper abdomen, so just below the rib cage. And this is all associated with confidence, self-esteem, personal power, and willpower. So again, if you're not feeling very confident and you've got low self-esteem, this is the chakra to work on. You might also have problems with your willpower. So if you are struggling to give up smoking or drinking, I know it's October at the moment, so be a lot of people giving up the alcohol. If you're struggling with that, then you need to work on your solar plexus. Again, you might have feelings of anger, or you might place an overemphasis on power. So you might be a little bit of a control freak if this is out of balance. And physically, you might have poor digestion. So solar plexus is very much linked to digestive organs. You might have an eating disorder. You might have feelings of fear, again, on a general level, or even going to the point of hating things or hating people. And physically, it's very much linked to stomach ulcers, like I said, digestive problems, allergies, diabetes is actually linked to solar plexus, and addictions, addiction-based problems. And then if we take it up to your heart chakra, this is located right in the centre of your chest, in the heart space. And as Mel said, it's associated with love, unconditional love. It's where we have the seat of our emotions, and it vibrates the colour green. And if we're unbalanced here, again, we might experience feelings of anger. We will have physically heart problems or circulation problems, but we'll also have a rigidity or a lack of love. So problems loving other people and problems accepting love of other people. And it can also lead to things like asthma. So anything that's linked to anything that's in that cavity. So your heart is there, your lungs are there, blood pressure problems, as I said, circulatory problems, but also a poor immune system. So again, a lot of us have had a problem with the immune system because we've been locked up for so long. We've also had this virus going around. So it's a big problem as well as the base. And then if we move up to the throat, which is what Rebecca found on that meditation, as I said, this is linked to communication and self-expression, and it vibrates the colour blue. And it means that when this is out of balance, we do have a difficulty in communicating, and the emotions almost get caught up in the throat. And if you experience frequent sort of wanting to cough or feeling like there's something stuck in your throat and you cough and you can't clear it, physically there's nothing there, but it's just the energy and the emotions that are trapped in the throat that you feel like you need to clear. So you might feel quite scared, you might be very quiet, you might sort of go inward, you might be inconsistent with your actions and your thoughts as well. And physically it can cause problems, obviously the throat, so throat infections, dry, tickly cough and throat problems, thyroid, parathyroid problems, and it also can extend into the neck, the shoulder, the jaw and the ear, so you might have hearing problems as well. Again, that's linked to communication. To be able to communicate, we need to hear clearly, don't we? We need to actively listen. And then if we move up to the third eye, so that is, a lot of people think it's right in the centre of your forehead. That is your third eye, but it's not the very central point of the vortex. It's actually in between your eyebrows at the top of the bridge of your nose. So literally where the little bit of your glasses, like Mel's putting to, would sit. And this is all about your psychic senses. It's your psychic centre. So it's all where your intuition happens, where your imagination happens, clairvoyance, if you're able to see things. And it's very much linked to that sixth sense that we're all born with. When this is unbalanced, we will have a problem connecting, we will have a problem being intuitive and picking up on that sixth sense. And physically we might feel dizzy, we might have headaches. So Mama Jen's probably got an issue with her third eye at the moment because she's got the migraine twice in 2 days. Your eyesight might be affected, and upper jaw. So lower jaw is very much linked to the throat chakra, and upper jaw is very much linked to third eye. So upper jaw and teeth problems, gums. And you might also have a lack of concentration and focus. And then finally we move up to the seventh major chakra, and that's the crown, and that's located just above the top of the head. It's not physically on your head, it's just a little bit above. This is the most sensitive chakra in the body. A lot of times if I'm working with healing, a lot of people, no, they're not physically aware of this, but they won't like the crown chakra being touched. So a lot of times, if I work predominantly when I'm doing Reiki just on my head and the shoulders, which is what Azui used to do, who founded the system. A lot of times I feel like my hands are being pushed back like a magnet, so I can't actually lay my hands on the top of the head because it is so sensitive. And it's where, as Mel said, we do have our connection to the divine, to source. It's all about that consciousness. It's all about tapping into knowledge and wisdom and understanding that knowledge and wisdom. And it's all about our thoughts, and it vibrates the colour violet. And when we're unbalanced in this chakra, it very much leaves us feeling disconnected from source, disconnected from the universe. We'll have problems having faith and belief, and physically, again, headaches, memory problems, cognitive dysfunctioning, obsessive compulsive disorder is very much linked to an out of balance crown chakra, and just general confusion, which then has problems with concentration and focus. So those are the 7 main ones where they are, and how you can tell which ones that you need to work on just by as simply looking at where in the body am I feeling a particular symptom, particularly physical symptoms, because that's a dead giveaway of what needs to be worked on. In terms of how you then balance that, so let's use Rebecca as an example. I'm sure she won't mind. I said to you, have a look at where you are not communicating properly, where you feel like you're not being heard. Because for the throat chakra, that's one of the easiest ways to fix that, is to identify where you're not being heard and where you're not expressing yourself. The minute you start expressing yourself, it will rebalance itself. So you could come to me or Mel for Reiki, and we could be doing Reiki forevermore, but until you make those changes to express yourself, it's always going to go back into an imbalanced state. Doesn't matter how much Reiki we do, how many crystals we use, it's going to stay unbalanced until you express yourself. So it's really easy to balance your own chakras just by looking at the physical symptoms you're experiencing, your thoughts and your feelings, and then fixing that. So if you've got low self-esteem, work on your confidence. That will help your solar plexus. But you can also help them by doing energetic things, because they are energy centers. So the first thing you need to do is just work off the colour. So whatever colour that chakra should vibrate to, is have more of that colour in your life. Pretty much, if I'm working from a colour therapy point of view, it's very easy to see a pattern emerging when somebody's out of balance in a particular chakra, because it will very soon become clear that the particular colour related to the chakra that's out of balance. So again, we'll take Rebecca as an example, and she may back me up on this, it might be completely wrong, but when you're out of balance in the throat, it means you've got an issue with the blue. So either she will have no blue in her house, no blue in her wardrobe, she won't eat blue foods, so there'll be a lack of blue. Okay, so everything that holds a colour holds the frequency and vibration of that colour. Or she might have loads of blue everywhere, eat loads of blue foods, and too much of it in comparison to every other colour. So I can see a little bit of aqua on your top, Rebecca, but in general, how much blue are you exposed to at the moment?
Not a lot at all, really. Yeah, in the house, it's mainly earthy colours like green, gold, brown, and yeah, I wear very little blue.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly
So,
again greens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a really quick way to help your throat chakra, as well as expressing yourself, or stop expressing yourself if it's a case of too much, is to work with the colour blue. So have it in your clothing, have it in your food, have it in your soft furnishings in the house. Don't mean you have to go and paint a wall blue, but bring it into your environment, because whatever's in that space, remember your auric field can extend up to 20 feet away from you. So having it just in your environment, you'll pick up on that vibration. So something that's really easy to do is just to look at your diet. Is so easy to get into. This is, and actually the NHS now recommend not 5 pieces of fruit and veg a day. They actually recommend a rainbow plate of food, which is what we would recommend from a colour therapy point of view. In fact, in the States, they've been using the colour therapy diet for many years. They use it predominantly for weight loss, but actually from an energetic point of view, every plate of food or your meals over one day should have food groups of all of the colours of the rainbow. So you're getting, this is all about having an equal exposure to every frequency. So as we just pointed out, Rebecca's got a lack of blue. So compared to all of the other colours in the spectrum, it's about bringing that balance in so that you're getting kind of not perfectly equal amounts, but you should be bringing in those colours that you're not exposing yourself to, and lowering the amount if you've got so say you've got a lot of green. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because green is a harmonizer and balancer, but it's a bad thing in terms of energy if you've got loads of green and none of the other colours. So it's just about bringing down the amount you've had if you have an excess, and bringing up the amount if you have a lack. And that's a really easy thing to do.
Mediterranean diet's one of the healthiest
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah, it's colourful.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you, I can't at this moment think of any blue food.
Blueberries.
Blueberries, yeah.
Blackberries are classed as blue.
You know what? I ate loads of them as well. I used to eat loads of them as well with vitamin C, because they're really high in vitamin C and antioxidants.
Yeah.
So see, I know they're there, but my brain would not let me think of what they were. So there you go. For anyone else who's struggling.
If anybody wants a copy of the Colour Therapy diet, I'm quite happy to share it. I've got a PDF, and it's got the food groups, because interestingly enough, some foods are not obvious what frequency they vibrate to. So let's take refined sugar. When we take it out of the canister, it's white, isn't it? But actually it vibrates to the colour violet. So if somebody's eating a lot of sugar and is drinking a lot of alcohol, which chakra do you think is going to be out of balance? If sugar vibrates the colour violet, what's going to be out of balance?
Crown chakra.
Crown chakra. So they're going to get lots of headaches. They're going to feel disconnected. They're going to have a lack of faith. So some colours are not obvious. So you need to be really careful with sugar, because if you're eating a lot of sugar in your diet, then you're going to have an excess of violet, which will lead to imbalances in your crown chakra.
And that's where a lot of the sort of processed food comes in as well, because it's colorants which aren't actually fake and
and then the next easiest way to do it is in your clothing. So your clothing sits right within your energetic field.
I need grounding at the moment.
You got black pants on.
I've got black pants on the bottom.
So black pants, black socks, red pants. When I'm teaching colour therapy, I get my students to do an exercise where I get them to think about a circumstance where they've really had an urge to buy a particular piece of clothing, but then never worn it. It's still got the price labels on it. The reason that happens isn't because you want that piece of clothing. 9 out of 10, it's because you want the colour that is on that piece of clothing. So say, we went to Marks and Spencer's and you saw this bright orange top and you was like, I really want that top. You buy it and then you stick it in your wardrobe and you never get it out of the wardrobe again. It's because at that minute you were in Marks and Spencer's, you wanted orange, you needed orange, your body needed it. So a really good test to do is, if you do get the urge to buy a particular piece of clothing or a pair of shoes that's really colourful, is stop yourself buying it, go to the nearest supermarket and buy a piece of fruit. So buy an orange or a satsuma or a drink that is orange. Drink it or eat it, wait half an hour and go back to the shop. And if you don't want to buy that orange top in Marks and Spencer's, it means you've satisfied your need for orange. So you've got that energy. You save yourself a lot of money.
And then besides the clothes and the food, obviously we've got crystals, which are just absolutely amazing, and they resonate with the same colours as well. So obviously you've got like your darker colours are more grounding, your purple colours are obviously more connected with the third eye, crown chakra side of things. You've got your pinks and your greens, which are connected with your heart chakra. So your reds again, your base, your oranges, sacral. So a lot of the crystals will sort of resonate with the different chakras as well, and the different colours are a good way to work with that. So if you're struggling with your blue chakra, with your throat chakra, get a blue crystal and wear it like a blue crystal necklace or earrings or whatever.
Again, you don't have to know the healing properties of crystals. You can use them just for the colour, as Mel said. It's a really easy way to introduce that energy vibration into your environment and into your auric field and into your energy system. So Rebecca, now you need to think about eating a bit more blue food, buying some blue clothes, or you can breathe in the colours. Colour breathing was actually invented or founded by a lady called Alison Bourne many years ago. And she actually taught colour breathing as a meditation technique, particularly for children. And she created some cards, colour breathing cards, and a flip chart that had a flip chart page for every colour of the spectrum. And they were big circles of colour, and they were concentric rings of varying tones and shades. And when the guys in her classes would meditate with the flip chart, and she would get them to look at the disc of colour, open-eyed meditation, they would get movement on the page because of the concentric circles and the changes in the colour. And she would ask them to breathe in the colour off the page. But you can do deep colour breathing without having those discs, or you could look at something in your environment that's got that colour on it, or just visualize, imagine, set your intention that you're breathing in that colour, and you will take on the frequency and the vibration of that colour. So colour breathing is a really quick and efficient way of getting that colour in if you need to do it on the spot.
I wonder if, and I know you'll know about aromatherapy and how that relates to the chakras, but also like your plant, flower essences as well. Is it the colour of the flower that relates to the different chakras?
Absolutely. And again, aromatherapy is a really quick way. If you've got aromatherapy oils, but pop them in a diffuser. Each chakra will be related to different crystals and different aromatherapy oils. So to give you an example, a really common one for the base chakra is basil and cedarwood. For the sacral, you can use cinnamon and black pepper, obviously tangerine and orange because they're obvious with the colours. For your solar plexus, you can use bergamot, clove, fennel and ginger and grapefruit. For your heart, you can use eucalyptus, geranium and lime. And for your throat, you can use lavender, oregano. And then you can use for your third eye, clary sage and lemongrass. And for your crown, frankincense, lemon and chamomile. You've got some choices there.
Yeah. Amazing. It's fascinating, isn't it, when you go into it and all the different techniques and the different
really
It's freely there, aren't they, for us?
It's really easy to, you don't have to come. It's great that you can come to therapists like Mel and myself and everybody else. But, this isn't something that you can't do at home. You should be aware of your energy all of the time. You should be thinking to yourself, why am I feeling this? Where am I feeling it? Is that balance? What can I do to fix it? Because it isn't rocket science. It's all about awareness and being aware of your own physical body, your energy body.
And I think that's where a lot of energy healing does come in as well, doesn't it? Because it helps you relax your mind enough to become more aware.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, haven't we? You're not going to be aware if you're busy in Tesco doing your shopping and you're stressed and the kids are kicking off, and you're just not going to be aware of those things because there's too many distractions. So again, this is where meditation is key, mindfulness is key, being in that quiet solitude space where you can think about what you're feeling, what you're thinking.
Which is why you'll have noticed it when you were doing the sound bath, because you'll have been in that calmer state of mind where you're more aware of what's going on in your body, whereas that could have been irritating or tickling throughout the day. You may not have noticed it because you've just been busy working and not thinking about it. So,
and also, I presume, Rebecca, the meditation that you did for the chakras, was it somebody talking you through the chakras, or was it different music for each chakra?
It was singing bowl vibration.
Right, so they would have used a different singing bowl for each chakra.
Yeah.
So that's why you've noticed it, because each of those notes is designed to work on a different chakra. And a bit like Reiki, sound is a bit like a heat-seeking missile. So that frequency will go straight to where it needs to go and seek it out. So that throat chakra ball that would have played at that point you felt that tickle has gone, right, I'm going in there, and it's got right in your throat chakra and brought it to the surface so you are aware of it. You can't ignore it.
And at first I did have doubt, and I played it again like three nights running, and it was on the throat chakra every time. Spot on.
Yeah. And I find with those as well quite often, because a meditation class that I used to go to, and the person who facilitated it used the sound bowls, And obviously you were deep in meditation, so you weren't sure what the sound bowl, but there was always one bowl that just didn't feel right. You know, it didn't necessarily sound pleasant, and it's not because it was played any different. It was just that was a particular frequency that resonated with an area that was blocked. And in the same way that some clothes you just don't like, you know, because they're just not resonating with that chakra you avoid or you're attracted to, the sound bowls are the same, aren't they? And the sound frequency is the same.
Exactly. And tomorrow might be completely different. I see this a lot in my sound baths. So I do a sound bath every fortnight in person. And the same people come. It's one of our most popular classes, and the guys that have been coming for years. And a lot of times people will say to them, why do you keep going? Just, I play the same instruments unless I get a new one, and they're lucky. I play the same instruments, I play them in the same order, I play them at the same speed, I play them at the same pressure, especially when I'm chiming the bowls. But they will have a completely different experience at every single class, and that's because their energy isn't static. So, and what you find with newbies is every time they come, they want to sit in a different part of the room because they get a different experience. Because one week they might be sat in front of the root chakra bowl, the next week they might be sat in front of the sacral bowl, the next week they might be sat in front of the crown bowl, but also the energy in the space affects it as well. So it depends on the size of group we have, the type of people that are in the group, the types of energy signatures that are in the group. All those factors make it a very different experience. But when we do sound therapy, and I do the sound baths, if you hear something that you don't like, that either gives you a symptom like Rebecca felt when she had the tickly throat, or makes you feel a bit like nails on a chalkboard and gives you that feeling, that's actually a good sign for me as a sound therapist, because that's what we call dissonance, and that means it's found an imbalance and it's trying to realign it. So it's actually a good sign. It just doesn't feel very nice for you guys because it feels uncomfortable. But you'll see somebody go, one week they'll say, I have, we call it the clackers as a nickname, but it's a wooden instrument and it makes a clacking sound, which is why we call it the clacker. Some people love it, and then other people are like, oh, I don't like it when you play the clackers. And then the following week they'll absolutely love the clackers, and that's just because their energy's in a completely different state that week that they liked it, as opposed to their energy when they didn't. So sound is very powerful in that respect, and you can do that yourself at home. You know, although mass-produced music is designed to sound good, different sounds, different music, different genres will have an effect on your emotions and your thoughts. So, if you want to do it easily at home and you want to work on your root chakra, for instance, put something on that's got a bit more bass to it. If you want to fix your crown chakra, then put on something that's a bit more ethereal and a bit more high vibrational. So you can do it quite easily with music as well.
I must say at this stage, Rebecca and anyone watching, Joanna's just created the most amazing sound meditation system to balance your chakra. It's a really unique one that she's been working with producers to do, and it's just absolutely incredible. It's off this planet. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Joanne?
Yeah, so I've been doing sound therapy for over 15 years, and it's always been a dream to kind of replicate what I do in the sound bath, but it's very difficult. If anyone is, Rebecca's listened to the sound bowls, obviously that's why she found the throat chakra, but when you listen to singing bowls that have been pre-recorded, it's very different than being there in the room with them. They kind of lose some of their effectiveness, because when you're sat in a room with a bowl, you feel the energy because it's created in that space. So it's always been a dream to capture what I can produce in the sound bath in person on tracks, on a tape, but it's just something I've not never had the chance to do. And luckily my next door neighbour my new next door neighbour, when I got chatting, has a music post-production sound audio company, and we were just
too. That was definitely meant to happen.
Synchronicity and manifestation. We were chatting one day, actually chatting about a sound issue, because he's making a lot of noise next door, and it's causing a bit of trouble for me and my clients. But we've become really good friends from it. So there's no dissonance there. But had that not happened, and I hadn't had the complaint about the noise, I would probably never have done the project, because it wouldn't be something that Alex and I would have discussed. I wouldn't have even known what he did for a living, because there would have been no need to have contact. And he just mentioned to me one day when we were doing a sound check for the landlords to prove how disruptive the noise was. He mentioned that he'd just done a project for one of the biggest global spa brands in the world, and they had asked them to do 10 tracks, one for each resort, each country they had a resort in. And the idea was that each hotel in that particular country would play that music to their clients having treatment. So when I went, he played me the Maldives track. And it just blew me away, and I was like, oh, that's something I've wanted to do for a long time. Not exactly the same, but in terms of the chakras. And Alex just turned around and said, I can do that for you. We can work together on it. I was like, okay. So we did. So yeah.
Oh, and it is something special. It really is.
The guys have done, I could not have imagined it any better. I just can't put into words how amazing it was to listen. They've done so, and I have to say, Alex and Jack that worked on the project, Jack is quite spiritual. He meditates, you know, he knows about this stuff. So when I showed him the chakra chart and I said what I wanted people to feel and experience with each chakra, each track, Jack got it. But Alex has never meditated in his life. He's very black and white. He's very analytical in his thinking, and he won't mind me saying this. He had not a clue. But by the end of it, it was really funny because when he delivered the project to me on the pen drive, he came round to me and I took him in our meditation room where Mel does her workshops and meditation classes. And he walked through the door and he went, I really like the energy in this room. And I was like, now you get it. Now it's opened his mind and his eyes to energy, which he never got just a few months before. So the guys have done an amazing job, and it's actually called Journey Through the Chakras. So each of the tracks takes you through each of the chakras, and all of the instruments the guys have used are designed to balance, harmonize and cleanse each of the chakras. So yeah, I can't say more about that really. I'm just grateful for the guys, and I'm grateful for the people that responded so positively to it. But it's a real passion. I mean, from day one when I qualified as a therapist and I started my healing work, it's all been linked to the chakras. It's something that's very close to my heart, and it's at the core of any healing work that I do. Even if I'm doing a massage, I work very much on an energy base. So yeah.
I find when I'm doing my angelic Reiki healing quite often, well, I'd say in pretty much every healing system, at some point it takes you through the chakras and does that as well. It really is quite a key, you know.
You can't heal without.
You can't, because it's energy work. You're doing energy healing. It's going to the energy centers, isn't it?
And the other thing that I really wanted to capture with the project wasn't just the 7 main chakra points. It was I mean, we called the Full Spectrum Centre for a reason. That I chose that name because it represented the spectrum of what we do. We do a huge amount of things. We do body work, which is at the more physical end of the spectrum, when we do energy work, which is the other end of the spectrum. So if you liken it to the chakras, the body work and the massage is more the root, because that's more physical and dense, and then the energy healing work is at the other end of the crown. So I very much chose that name for that reason. But I wanted the sound therapy project to be linked to the spectrum as well as the chakras. So for the first 3, so your root, your sacral and your solar plexus, they're at what we call the magnetic end of the spectrum. So if you're looking at a spectrum as a line, and you've got those reds, oranges and yellows on the left, and you've got the green which sits right in the middle of the spectrum, and then you've got the throat and the third eye and the crown at the other end. And that's literally, I wanted the whole journey to represent that. So again, if you're lacking in energy, if you're really lethargic, fatigued, then you need to be working with that magnetic end, because that's the get up and go energy side of the spectrum. So that's your reds, your oranges and yellows that give you that oomph and that motivation. And if you're a little bit hyper and you're too, overexcited, you need to calm down. You need to work with the sedating end, which is your blues, your violets, your magentas. That's kind of what you need to
really highlights, to be honest, because my son's got ADHD.
Yeah.
And he absolutely hates the bright colours with a passion. And I never fully understood why. I never actually made
it is stimulating for him.
Yeah. And he likes all his like greens and blues. Even the cream in this work room, he says he can't stand it. It's not pleasant for him.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in terms of, so just looking at a wider sort of colour as well as sound is so important to us, colour is too, because I'll say whatever holds a colour holds that vibration. when you're looking at particularly black and white, white contains all of the colours of the spectrum. So again, white is a good colour to surround yourself with because it has all of those vibrations in equal amounts. But a lot of people will say that they use black because they feel like it protects them, which it is a good protective colour, but actually it's the absence of colour. So from a nutritional point of view, from colour, black gives you absolutely zero because it has no nutritional value in terms of energy. But it is a very protective colour, and it does
grounding.
So, yeah. But if you're going to use colour for your root, I would tend to work with more with the reds than the blacks, just because of the extra oomph that you get from that colour vibration, linking it into your root chakra. But for grounding, very definitely black. You know, black tourmaline. I have a huge chunk of black tourmaline that I use for grounding. So yeah.
Which is telling me you need a Trix crystal carols.
Yes, get out crystal carols.
I never need an excuse for more crystals, I've got to be honest. Yeah. Fantastic. So we've covered loads today. We've covered, besides all the chakras, we've looked at crystals, we've looked at colour therapy, we've looked at aromatherapy, sound therapy, and just working with all the different energy centers. We've actually covered loads from one question. Thank you, Rebecca. So it really is important, everyone, that you do post your questions in the group, because it's amazing just what different conversations it can open up. And if there are any aromatherapists or flower experts or anything in the group, or anyone wants to add anything and share your own expertise, please do post in the group. If there's anything you want to know any more about any of these things, you know, let us know. Post your questions, post your experiences, and yeah, absolutely brilliant. So I think we will round up there, because it is it's about 5 to 8. So unless anyone's got any last quick questions or comments.
Just can I just ask Rebecca, does all of that make sense, and what is your action plan now?
Oh, good question.
It does all make sense. I used to have lots of blueberries, actually, because I think it was an antioxidant, and I used to have it in smoothies with my husband. But I had a hair strand test, and it said that I was allergic to milk protein, so I stopped having smoothies. So I'm gonna use soya milk and make a blueberry smoothie tomorrow. And I'm going to, I've just changed my summer clothes to my winter clothes, and I've got a blue sort of bomber jacket, which I'm gonna start wearing, because it's got duck down in it and it'll be quite warm anyway. So I will wear that as well. So that's my plan. And yeah, I think it's been really interesting listening to you both, and getting some more knowledge about the foods and the and what the different Reiki symbols connect to. I knew the basics, but it was really, really good to kind of get a bit of a wider perspective on all of them. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, and thanks for joining us live. Ask your questions in the group, and let's get that chat going. The more the merrier. Okay, so thanks for your input, both of you. Absolutely brilliant. And thank you everyone for watching the replay, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.